So the temperature has been getting up into the 60s during the day now, and it's been driving me crazy not to drive the hot rod. So the tires on here are absolutely done. I probably should have changed them out last season. There's no tread left on the front tires, so it needs some new tires on it. The guys at the shop have been giving me a hard time about not driving the Roadster yet. When it's nice out, it's time to get this thing together and get it on the road again. Quick note here, if anybody's interested in running a spoke style rim on the 40 Ford design hub or hubs and drums, make sure that you get one of these spacer rings. It's got a little lip on here that actually supports the back side of the center hub assembly there. You can't just bolt that directly up to here, because this little flange right here, it'll actually crush the wheel and it'll hog out your lug nut holes in there. So make sure you run one of these spacer rings, and it basically just helps center that on here. You can see the lip here, and that lip actually goes in on the back side of this rim and sits in here to keep it from collapsing this area, because these wheels were not designed to run on those newer drums. If you're not familiar with tube type tires, the valve stem actually comes through a hole, and the tube is separate from the rim itself here. It basically just comes through this hole. It's not like a newer design where a valve stem is separate from the tire. This is a bias ply tire. This is not a new design. It does not have steel belts in it like a bias or a steel belted radial does. Completely different design here. This has a tube inside of it like a bicycle. So when we go to take this tire off of here, we got to make sure not to pinch that tube inside there, or we're going to have to get new tubes for those. So this is the tube. Here's the valve stem in the tube, just like a bicycle tire. When I originally installed this tube in there, you can see it's got this white powder on that. That's actually baby powder. I put it on there. This tube has to move around inside of that rubber tire. It has to move inside there. And if it doesn't move around in there and sticks, it can actually pop the tube. So now I can show you this rim. So right here, on a standard rim, there would be a small lip bead right here. And when the tire actually seats up against here, it helps keep that tire from dismounting from the rim. On the older wheels, they do not have that. So at this point, we have the tube inserted into the tire. It's not on the top bead yet, but I put the valve stem back in the tube, and you want to make sure that that tube is not pinched anywhere around that ring. One of the best ways to do that is to try to hold this valve stem up through this hole and put a little bit of air into that tube so it starts to inflate inside there. You don't want to inflate it completely, but just enough to where that tube completely unfolds in there, if it has any folds on it, to where you can shift it around, make sure that it's loose inside that rim, inside the tire, before you put this top bead in place. Also, on these older tires, they do not balance out very well. The old rims do not balance out very well. So to give us the best shot that we've got of getting this thing balanced, this valve stem is probably going to be the heaviest spot on the wheel. This mark that's on that tire is a mark from the factory. That is the heavy spot on there. So we want this to be opposite side of that. So we're going to spin this around and try to get this mark opposite that valve stem when we put it back together.